Hello and welcome to another Book Huddle. I'm excited to have Mariane Cresp on today. She has a really great business. I found her through watching another YouTube that she was a guest on. So Mariane, can you share with us what you do on and she's not just on YouTube, you also are quite present on Instagram, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you, Karen, for having me today. It's such a pleasure. Hi, everybody. I'm Mariane Cresp, and through my planning, habit tracking, well-being, and budgeting, I hope to inspire other planners and give them some ideas with their own planning. And I'm located here in Sydney, Australia. And so if it's okay with you, Karen, I just want to quickly talk about how I got into the planning. And the
Fantastic.
side hustle of it all.
Yes.
I'm actually a full-time homeschooling mum to my youngest, who will be 14 at the end of the year. And at the beginning of 2019, he was in a support class in a mainstream school. Unfortunately, we're having lots of challenging behaviors. So my husband and I decided that I would homeschool him. Now, I was working full-time outside of the home back then, and the thought of having to be homeschooling my son and do his education was such a daunting feeling that it actually gave me anxiety. So I did
I can
seek out.
imagine.
I did seek out help, professional help through therapy. And then I found that what I had been doing before that, which was bullet journaling and, using diaries and planners, was a form of self-care. So then I started sharing just my pages without me on it on Instagram, as you said earlier, and without any, thought about it. I would just posted, didn't really want followers, but I gained some momentum and created my own planner inserts for personal use because I didn't find anything that met my needs. And others asked, where did you get that? And I said, oh, I just made it. And goes, do you sell it? And I went, no.
Why I suppose I could.
Yeah, but there were so many for those in the planning community, there's many well-known planners out there and beautifully curated Pinterest and Instagram pages. Who would want mine? Mine is just simple lines on a paper with simple heading. But I think that's what was fascinated others. So that's sort of like my story. And I also wanted to create my own do-it-yourself planner tools, trying to be financially responsible and not buy too much stationery, planners and stickers. I made my own. As a homeschooling mum, I had the tools. I had laminating sheets, laminators, label makers, so I could easily make with what I had. So that's pretty much the story of how I got into this side hustle. So it is still a side hustle because I homeschool full time. Yes.
Education is such a full-time thing. I think so many people discovered that when virtual learning happened, and it was like, and you have help from like the schools. And so I did a little bit when I was, my son was a kindergartner, and I'm an advocate of homeschooling because, I'm an advocate of private schooling, charter schooling, whatever is best for the child. So I think that's excellent that you found that this will be best for your son.
Yes, and because he is on the autism spectrum, learning he can't learn the way we teach him the way he learns. So, a lot of our teaching is a lot of manipulatives, so technically he's moving on to the high school curriculum and syllabuses. But, I go with his pace because I know it may take him a little bit or he might be a little bit behind. But when he grasps a concept, he can do it in a week or two. So I have learned, well, although still quite, lots of mum self-doubt. That's where I guess my planning comes in to help keep me grounded, focused when those cloudy thoughts and doubts do come in.
Well, I love that. And I love that whenever you hit roadblocks, you found the solution to get there.
Exactly.
So that's awesome. Excellent. All right. So can you tell us what do you do during these really busy time of year? Like how do you keep up with everything? How do you
Yes.
share?
So, as I said, I created my own planner inserts that suited, our day-to-day life. So,
Right.
and I've read a lot of books about habit tracking. Originally read about habits to understand my son's
Right.
brain a bit better and the way
Right.
why he likes to have routines and
Yes.
schedules. And through that, I found that, oh, actually, I also like to have habits and
Yes.
routines. So if you don't mind me sharing, I'm just going to show you my desk.
Excellent.
And I have my habit tracker. So all it
Okay.
is really, it can be a little bit daunting with so many stuff, but I always
Uh-huh.
say to people who are going to track their habits, start with one focus.
Okay.
So with the holiday season coming up, this really is just like if you were following a recipe, you would just
Yes.
go down the list.
Okay.
Okay, I've done my morning journal. What's next? My 5-year journal, make the bed, wash, even though I know I have to wash my face in the morning, but the
Yes.
habit tracking, they call it habit stacking. So
Okay.
use a established habit that you already have, like maybe brushing your teeth, and
Yes.
stack on a new habit. So if you know you have to go and check your Christmas list, well, who else
Yes.
do I need to buy for this
Yes.
year? A habit tracker is, for me anyway, an important tool. So if I get distracted or derailed throughout the day, it's my little go-to. It's like the
Excellent.
lights. You know how when you're at the movies, a movie
Yes.
theater, and it's already dark, and you've got
Uh-huh.
the lights that lead you to your seat. So I
Yes.
look at my habit tracker as the lights that lead me when the day is in chaos.
Yes.
And
Get
you
you
know what?
back on.
Yes, that's right. And if the day is going well,
Yes.
I may not need my habit tracker because
Yeah.
I'm on track. So it's
Yeah.
not there. For me, my habit tracker is
Hmm.
not for me to serve it and fill it in. It's there for when I'm a little bit lost in the day or
Hmm.
get derailed. And then the other thing that I also do is my well-being page. So
Excellent.
morning journal, 2 to 3 minutes, and that's
Okay.
it. Only a few lines. So I don't have to write an essay. I write how I feel, why I feel that way, and what can I do to make myself feel better. So it's my
Excellent.
me time. I think it's important for those who have children that we have our me time.
Yes.
How they always say, put on the oxygen mask on yourself first
Yes.
before
Yes.
you put it on your children or others. So we need to look after ourselves in order to be able to function well. So
Yes.
that page, my morning journal, is my time to acknowledge how I feel. And I'm also learning about being emotionally intelligent. So then
Yes.
I can respond to my feelings rather than react, because I
Yes.
can be that cranky mom that can just lose it when there's a sock on the floor,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important to learn these things about ourselves. And like you were saying, you didn't know
Mhm.
until you like went on this journey, right? I
That's
actually have an autistic as well. My oldest is
right.
13. And so I listen to different books. Right now, Differently Wired by Debbie Reber. I'm always listening to different things. And
Yes.
I find the same thing, like you were saying, that it's actually about learning about me more. And oh my
Yes.
gosh, like sometimes I'm like, probably gets this from me. Like I do this, I do this. And
Yes.
so how can I be better? Because if I can improve on these skills, then I can better teach him to
That's
improve
right.
on these skills.
Yeah.
And
So we've actually incorporated in our morning meeting writing in our journal. So, he writes today, I fills it in. And a lot of times to make himself feel better is by going to the shops and getting McDonald's or
yes.
KFC. So for the moment, I'll let him, get away with
Yeah,
writing
yeah.
to make him feel well, I have to acknowledge that's what makes him feel happy. I can't go and tell him, no, you can't do that.
No,
So,
let's change your happiness to be my happiness.
That's right, exactly. And so so that's pretty much the essence of what I do on Instagram.
Excellent.
And as well as YouTube. And my planner inserts are available on my site, mariannecresp.com. So yeah, it's really inspired. I've actually, my community has helped me a lot, rather than the other way around, is as a homeschooling stay-at-home mom, as well as having the side hustle at home. You feel isolated.
Yes.
Because I don't go out as much.
Go interact with coworkers or anything. So you have somebody else to interact with, this community of planners, of people that all want the same thing. So you can all lift each other up. I love that. I love that you found that.
Exactly. And I think those that resonates with what I do is, I think we're confident women. We're strong women, we're organized, we know what we need to do in our work, in our business. But then there are times when we get derailed, and then the self-doubt comes in, and we go, why can't I figure out what to do next? When I know in business or at work, I'm like, if you're the manager, you know exactly what to do. But then when it comes to our own feelings, we get a bit lost, and then we go, we're not good enough, and then we start to, criticize ourselves, whether mentally or physically. When I look in the mirror, that doesn't look good. And the things that I know I say to myself sometimes, I would never, ever say to a friend.
Right.
So why do we do
your
it
child?
to ourselves?
Or
So this journey is helping me learn to be kinder to myself and give myself grace for those moments that I am feeling a little bit lost.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing about that. The start off was when you had anxiety, because that's been a big thing for me too. And we don't, I think we realize that it's out there, and there's so much about, mental health and emotional health out there. But then sometimes when it comes to us, mine was when I had my fourth baby, just came out of nowhere when I was giving birth, and I've had it ever since then. And so it took over a year to go and get medication and to find those steps, because it was like, I don't know. I think so many people just think, oh, that's somebody else. That's somebody else. But to share and say, no, I am a strong woman. And that doesn't change. Just because I've had anxiety does not mean that I'm not a strong, accomplished woman who will continue.
Exactly. And I think the more we talk about it, I recently shared that if we broke our ankle, we would go see a doctor, right? So if it's something physical, if our back has been hurting for 3 to 4 weeks, and, we've rubbed the lotion or the deep heat on it or whatever it is, and yet it's still not healing, we would go see a doctor. How come we don't talk about that if our mind or our heart is broken? We don't seek that help. So it's, I think the more women who look like they're all put together on the outside, the more we talk about it, then it becomes more of a norm that, it is okay to be broken from time to time. Yeah.
And then we know what to do now, and how to continue. And
that's
so
it.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing about the planner. So I will include down in the description where you can find Mariane. She has a website, an Instagram, and then her YouTube channel. And she does these lives where she'll talk about, just right on your lives, you talk about your planners and what you're doing.
How I set it up for the new week. So give others idea on what sort of things that they can plan for, or those who do want to get a little bit more organized or look after themselves, find out ideas and ways to do so when it comes down to pen to paper, or if they do want to do it digitally, at least get some inspiration and ideas.
Because have you seen changes since you've started with these planning, something that, this doesn't work, or did
for sure. I've some of these planner inserts are a couple of versions ahead of when I first started, because then there are times where I want to track that, but then it's actually more of a hinder rather than a tool to help
Right.
out. So there have been changes along the way, and I do still keep them on there for those who are starting new that may need that little bit of
It's
guidance.
available.
What do I write about?
Right.
So prompts. But yes, I have for
Excellent.
me that's why I say through my own planning, I hope others can get the inspiration, because all we see sometimes on Pinterest or Instagram is the fully finished pages.
Yes.
We
Right.
don't know how
So the journey of getting there. You've got
from
these
start to finish, days that don't get filled in, because I
Right.
think some people ask, I'm not good at habit tracking because I don't fill it in.
Right.
And it's like, that means there were other priorities in your life, which is
Right.
good that you were able to focus on that rather than focus on filling in.
Right.
So
Figure
that's
out
actually
what
a
is the
good thing.
purpose of this. And sometimes just having it written down,
Yes,
at least it's in the back of the mind, right?
that's exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again,
And
that guide to go back to.
yes. And then whatever you need, like I saw on your live with Claire that even like, didn't you have even like a movie tracking thing or the shows you watch or something?
Yeah, so some just
right.
fun
There's
things.
so many different things that you can track. And so go check out on her website. It's not, if there's something that you're like, well, I'd like to get organized, but that's not quite what I need. She might have some other ideas for you on the website, because
like
there's all kinds of things. Yes,
book
books.
tracker.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really great.
Excellent. So yes, now books. Can you share with us a children's book that you'd love to recommend to our audience to share with kids and adults?
So I have this one here.
Okay.
So Coco Chanel. Okay. The Little People, Big Dreams series. So this is written by Isabel Sanchez Vergara, illustrated by Anna Albero. Trying to read that without my glasses. Now, I originally purchased this because when my boys, I have two boys, were babies and toddlers, I taught myself how to sew. And then somehow through that, I started making my own handmade dolls. So Coco Chanel was one of the theme dolls that I made, because it's nice and simple with just, the striped top and black skirt. However, it's turned out to be one of the younger son's favorite book to read during story time in our morning meeting. So it's one of his go-to. Now, the reason I like the Coco Chanel book, I mean, so pretty with just the stripe, is out. So Gabrielle, which is Coco Chanel's name, actually, she was an orphan, so started out with hardship when she was a little girl. She was seen as being very different, which others found strange, and they didn't like that. But she loved to sew, and she grew up sewing. So there's some beautiful illustrations on there. Yes, she grew up sewing. And, others found what she was making so different, because back then they had, I think 1920s, very tight stuff. And she, her designs were a little bit different. So others found her different and sneered at her. Now, this book really resonates. Later, originally it was for a totally different purpose that I bought it, more for, visual and merchandising. But it resonated with me because, of course, the story of my son, being on the autism spectrum, he can do his stimming in public and be running from one side to the other, not really talking to anybody. He has echolalia, so he'll just be, blurbing words that doesn't make sense to others. So you get the stares and the sneers of, why can't you control your child? And so this story really resonates because I have the hope that, even though you are different, even though others may sneer at you, Coco Chanel, for those in the fashion world, know her name.
I immediately knew the name. Yeah,
she has a legacy. So then that, for me, knowing that, my son who'll be 14 at the end of the year, he's going to go through his young man years, and I have the hopes that he'll one day, live his own life and be independent, and who knows, find a partner. And so when he was first diagnosed, it was devastating, of course, news. But I remember someone saying to me, it's just like as if you had planned to go on a holiday to Paris, just the, same with Coco Chanel. And then they tell you when you're boarding that you're going to go to Egypt. First, you'll be disappointed because you packed up for
I had a
Paris.
plan.
Yes. But then you go, hang on, there are many other beautiful things to see in Egypt. So I remember the principal of the daycare who told me that story, and I always think of that. What you envision for your children might be different from, when they were born, but then there's so many beautiful things that's going to come out of it. And so this book, so Coco Chanel, Little People, Big Dreams, there's hope. And then there's the
inspiring.
Exactly, that my son will grow up in this world and make his own mark. So that's the why I really love that, the Coco Chanel book.
Thank you so much. Yes, I love that. And as we have more like this, because, and like you were saying, we can get something out of it differently. And as we share our experiences, we can, other people's experiences will help us bring a different point of view out of that. That's excellent.
Exactly.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Mariane.
Thank you for having me.
I will just talk to you later. And like I said, we've got on the description down below, so where you can find Mariane. Bye.
Bye.